All right, welcome to Wednesday Night Slides number 88. Tonight is all trains. Didn't do anything else other than trains this month. Kept busy with a few things, so we're going to jump right into it. Um, Let me call up the slide program. All right. You all should be seeing trees.
Yep.
And if I do this right, you think after 88 shows I would get this right the first time. But let's see here. Let me find the slideshow. Now there it is. Come on. And you should be seeing the title slide right about now.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to unmute yourself. Uh, I don't mind the conversation. Um, Easiest way is to hit your space bar, hold it down, and ask your question, make your comment. We're going to get rolling here. We're going to start off on the Northeast Corridor with some recent activity. One train I've been out to get a couple of times now is the next generation Acela that's wrapped for the semi-quincentennial. Here we see it going through Crumlin, Pennsylvania, which is about halfway between Philadelphia and Wilmington. It says 1776 national champs on the side. I'm not sure exactly what they're the champions of, but that's what it says. Still at Crumlin, we have SEPTA making a stop with Silverliner 5s. Conductor looking back on his train. We have a ACS 64 rolling through Crumlin, and it's nice here now because normally there's fences between the two middle tracks, but they're doing track work right now around Crumlin. In fact, the second track over is closed. Which is why everything's on near track. Um, but while they're doing the track work, they take all the fences out. Here we see a southbound ACS 64. And a set of Silverliner 4s. And one more Amtrak ACS 64. And these are getting pretty rare now. The original Acelas are beginning to vanish at a pretty rapid pace. I think there are only four schedules, excuse me, four schedules a day now that have original Acelas on them. Everything else is next generation Acelas. Following day, I headed up to Princeton Junction. Here we see a train with a cab car leading. The cab car's got the new graphics on it, the red and blue with the white stripe instead of the yellow safety stripes. This train is heading south. Nassau Tower is over there in the trees on the right-hand side. Once again, an ACS 64. The reason I was at Princeton Junction, though, was because the Dinky, the shuttle that runs from Princeton Junction to Princeton, had a set of Jersey arrows with the arrow on the, we'll call it the east end, uh, with the Lackawanna decal on it. NJ Transit's Lackawanna Heritage Arrow 4, or Jersey Arrows, not Arrow 4. Um, the Dinky runs a little less than 3 miles from Princeton Junction to Princeton, roughly every half hour. On the other end is an arrow with just a regular, without the Lackawanna graphics on it. Coming into Princeton Junction. Last I saw, these two arrows were still on the shuttle, so it may warrant another trip up there in the near future. Get some stuff maybe in downtown Princeton, which I didn't get to on this trip. Keystone train with a cab car leading. That's the more standard, older safety stripes on the end of the cab car there. Uh, an ACS 64 with the semi-quincentennial 250 graphics on the side. And there's the semi-quincentennial next gen Acela, which according to the side of it is revolutionary. Another view of the dinky with the Lackawanna arrow. Then as I was leaving, fire trucks and all kinds of stuff started showing up. This is at the Princeton Junction station. Apparently a small fire started next to the platform there. So about 4 fire trucks, a couple of police cars, an ambulance for some reason, all showed up here to put the fire out. Last week, I attended the convention of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society. It was based in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They asked me to help out by coordinating the photo stops, keeping the cats herded. No easy task. But we started off on Thursday, the 18th, with a RDC trip on the Reading to Northern. We left out of North Reading, and our first stop was at the steam shop up in Port Clinton. Inside the steam shop, you have 462, 425 on the right, the tender of 2102 on the left. The locomotive itself was in another building. Apparently 2102 on the previous Sunday's trip screwed up at Stoker. So the return trip of that had to be hand fired, and it was in the shop getting its Stoker fixed. From Port Clinton, we headed up to Tamaqua for a photo stop. And then up to Monomoy Tunnel for a photo stop. And we even did a photo run by there. Train went by us, then this is coming back the other direction to load the passengers. And then at Molino, we did run-bys in both directions. Here's the train heading south towards Reading. Then we crossed the tracks, and when it came back north to load the passengers, we got it going past the Reading shelter there at Molino. And we finished the trip off finally in sun at North Reading. The following day, we headed out to Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania for a ride on the Harrisburg, Lincoln, and Lancaster, which is on the grounds of Stone Gables Estates, also known as the Star Barn. They have this 1860s style 440, which was built in, I believe, 2007. One of the newest steam locomotives in the U.S. And our first photo stop was at the covered bridge, the Hers Mill covered bridge, which used to be located up in Ronks, Pennsylvania, not very far from the Strasburg Railroad. It was disassembled board by board and moved to Stone Gables Estates and rebuilt. Following the photo stop here with the locomotive and the bridge, we did a few run-bys. And we did one looking through the covered bridge. I wasn't sure which shot I liked better. This shot here showing the front of the locomotive, or this shot here showing the cab and drivers. The railroad just built a brand new bridge. That bridge is brand new there, the train is on. And we did some photo run-bys there. And then just up the line, at one of the few open spots on the railroad, we did another set of run-bys. You can see on the right-hand edge there, that's the Harrisburg covered bridge. The track is basically going to be a teardrop when they finish it. And this end of the tier is pretty close to each other. Between here and the covered bridge is the other grade crossing, where you saw the shot with the locomotive and the bridge together. Following the run-bys, we went back down to the end of the trestle. Because space is so tight here, we posed the engine out in the trestle for some static shots.
Steve, I've got a question for you.
Certainly.
Was this the equipment that was on the Northern Central?
No. Northern Central
Separate.
has its own. This is different. Both sets were both built by Clokey Locomotive. This was the former Leviathan, which was the first one built, I believe. And then following this one, he built the one for Northern Central. The Hers Mill covered bridge at one time, when it was in place at Hers Mill, was actually a two-span bridge. If you look behind the last coach there, you see that red building back there. That's actually the second span of the Hers Mill bridge, now built over the tracks. At the moment, the tracks end there, so it is currently serving as a shed. But eventually, the tracks will be brought out the other side of the bridge and complete the teardrop. There'll be a teardrop with a turntable at the point of the tier, and so the train will come down, turn on the turntable, then go back over the teardrop again, back to the turntable, turn again. And that project should be finished in a couple of years. They try to allow 2 years for each major project, and this past year was finishing this trestle. We left Elizabethtown, went over to Middletown, to the Middletown and Hummelstown. Western Maryland S6 151 was the power. We posed the train in front of the classic neon sign at Cuppy's Diner. Did some photo run-bys on the street running there. Then from there, we continued behind the train, pushed the train back, set of run-bys in the back of a supermarket parking lot. Then even further back, pushing back again, we wound up in the fairly new Amtrak station for Middletown. There are no platforms for the Middletown and Hummelstown. It's strictly a pass-through for them because their interchange for Norfolk Southern is beyond the station here for their freight traffic. And we did a couple of other run-bys. The convention finished off on Saturday. We headed to Wilmington. The first stop was a tour of the Wilmington shop, where Amtrak maintains their ACS 64 electrics, as well as their diesel fleet used for maintenance on the Northeast Corridor. This was the first public tour of the Amtrak shops since the farewell to the AEM 7 trip, which occurred, 10 years ago now. When the AEM 7 tour went through there, of course, it was just they like herd everybody through past the yellow tape. Our group was broken down into groups of 20. So there was no caution tape. We had clear shots of everything. It looked like a actual functioning shop. In the shop are the old HHP-8 locomotives that Amtrak retired. Gosh, it's been what, 8 years ago now already? Maybe more. They were going to convert some of these HHP-8s into cab cars to replace the old Metroliner cab cars like you saw earlier. They've got 3 of them finished. But even though they got HHP-8s all over the place, derelict ones, parts are impossible to find. I guess all of them wore the same parts out. So they got 3 done, and from listening to the folks at the shop, neither they nor Amtrak seems to be very eager to continue the program. So those 3 might wind up being the only ones. And then everybody got a kick out of this locker that was there with the shop hours. You will never retire from this, it says. They do a lot of wheel work here, so everything is set up for maintaining wheels. Here we see the truck assembly off of, according to the numbers on it, off of ACS 64, number 619. The locomotives were built by Siemens, and some of the stuff is proprietary to Siemens. So Siemens has a small section set up in the shop where they handle some of the work. We'll get to that blue engine there in a second. Lots of wheels. Also at the Wilmington shop, that's where they commission their new locomotives, diesel locomotives as they come in, the Chargers. This locomotive just arrived. It's at the shop's test center. It will be tested and then commissioned and then sent to wherever it's going to go for diesel service. Also at the shop is their Washington Terminal Heritage locomotive. This little switcher, which should be down in Washington where it belongs, working Washington Terminal. It seems to be a hangar queen at Wilmington, though. Unfortunately, the side that was lit, this side here, had a lot of clutter. The shady side was clear, but required a little bit of lightroom work to bring out any kind of detail. More of the HHP-8s. They're all over the place there. And like I said, they're only going to probably do the 3 conversions they've done so far. And then they had this little lineup out front. And of course, when I got there with my car, I drove instead of taking the bus from Harrisburg and back to Harrisburg. I just drove to Wilmington because it's close by. By the time I got to it, it had clouded over and I got a clouded shot. From there, we went over to Bear, Delaware, which is the car shop, about 25 minutes from Wilmington. This is not an amusement park ride. This is the where the seats are refurbished. Amfleet cars come in, Amfleet 1s, Amfleet 2s, and the Metroliner cab cars come in every 4 years for light service, and then every 8 years for heavy service. The light service includes refurbishing all the seats. These seats here have been completely stripped, and these are just out of the wash rack, ready to be have all their foam and upholstery applied to them again. Also outside at Bear were these 2 legacy Acela power cars. There's been some talk about maybe taking the middle 5 cars, which are missing here. There's the 2 power units here, but usually there's 5 cars in between them. There's been some talk of taking the middle 5 cars and refurbishing them maybe for Harrisburg service. The problem is the computer system in all of these is one system end to end, from one power unit through all 5 cars to the other power unit. And that system is based on Windows 95. So it would take a lot of rewiring and computer work to adapt the 5 middle cars to be used powered by, say, a ACS 64. Like I said, they take care of all the Amfleet 1, Amfleet 2, and Metroliner cab cars here. And of course, more wheels. Here we see a Amfleet car that's been completely stripped out, no seats left in it. This switcher was tucked away indoors for some reason. Then behind it is one of the old Metroliner cab cars. The cab cars come in for a year, and as they come in, they'll be losing the yellow safety stripes and getting that red and blue more modern graphic. And there's one of the Metroliner cab cars. These were originally Metroliners. They're the last piece of Pennsylvania Railroad equipment still operating on Amtrak. They're now, what, 50 years old? And with the failure of the HHP8 cab car conversions, they'll probably be around for quite a bit longer. So that wrapped up the RNLHS convention. I needed something else to fill this program out. So I randomly went back and just grabbed a trip I took back in 2018, pre-pandemic. We were heading down to the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, March 11th and 12th, 2018, for a charter put together by Lero Photography, Pete Lero and Company.
This was fun.
Sorry?
It was fun.
It was. This is down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Here we are on the grounds of the of TVRM. We ran a double header, 280-630 and 282-4501. One of the reasons why I picked this is because I'm heading down to Chattanooga end of next month to chase 4501. It's back in green paint. I only shot it once in the passenger green paint when it was in service. And I'm heading down to Chattanooga to chase two of its trips down to Somerville, Georgia, because I really want to see it in green. Pete arranged for some historic cars to come in and pose at the grade crossings. This nice bridge is right at the end of the property at the museum. And here's our double header. TVRM has about 4 miles of track, 4.5, 5, from their museum area down to the opposite end of the line, which is their shop area at East Chattanooga. Of course, when you're with Pete Lero, he combines his interests. He used to have some Rosie the Riveter type shots. Then in the afternoon, we swapped locomotives around and put 4501 on the point. Here it is coming out of the Missionary Ridge Tunnel on TVRM's line. This is the Grand Junction station. This is at the museum end of the TVRM trackage. And then Pete put together a night photo session that night. And the reenactors were out too as well. Here we have two actual railroaders, Stephen McIntyre and Mike Hunn. Mike works for Amtrak. In fact, he runs Harrisburg line trains. He runs some of those cab cars you saw earlier. Next day, we took the doubleheader out down to Somerville, Georgia, with the 6:30 leading. Going through Rossville, Georgia. This is a shot that's on my must-do list, my Chase 4501 next month. And Kudzu Hill, Pete found this really cool spot. Marched the dead kudzu up onto the hillside. Pretty good grade through here. Engines work really hard. And we had our historic cars out with us as well. Pacing the train. Rock Springs, Georgia. This is where Pete threatened to quit rail fanning altogether. We had a couple of cars here, the pose and the shot. The photo line is spread out on both sides of the track. Problem is, the angle of where the car is in relation to the train and the house changes depending on where you are in the photo line. So while one side of the photo line said the car is perfect, the other side of the photo line is yelling, move the car back 3 feet or move the car forward 3 feet. And so I learned that the best way to handle this was to just follow Pete around, because Pete is going to set the car that's best for his photo. See, here's this shot here. This I was not following Pete here. I was on the wrong side, so I had the crossbuck blocking the car. Meanwhile, Pete's on the opposite side with the car perfect for him. So when Pete came over on this side, though, he posed the car just right to get the shot. Back down to Somerville. And I had an old Atlanta police car down there to greet us. One of our reenactors being taken away. And there's a turntable in Somerville. They turned the train and headed back north again. This is the bridge at Tryon, not far north of Somerville. And I believe this is our last run by the day, because we had a long way to go to get back up to Chattanooga. We did do, besides the doubleheader, we did do 4501 by itself on a couple of these run-bys. So that was that charter. We're going to finish off this program. The big boy comes east. The madness starts. I wasn't going to chase it. I forget what day it was. But anyhow, I read the night before, Reading and Northern issued a press release, and the train was on Reading and Northern. They issued a press release saying there'd be side-by-side running from Penobscot down to Crestwood. So I headed for Penobscot. And here they are setting up the side-by-side running. Reading and Northern's 484, 2102 on the left. Obviously the big boy on the right. While they're in Penobscot, the crews from both locomotives came out and posed on the front of the big boy. And here they are ready to go side by side. 2102 getting a start. Unfortunately, 2102 got the jump. So by the time it got to where I was, it was blocking the big boy. From there, I went down to Lehigh Gorge. I really hadn't planned anything else with either train. I got down to Lehigh Gorge near Jim Thorpe, and I was ahead of the train. So I said, what the heck? I'll just go up into the gorge a little bit, find a parking spot if I can, and I did, and wait for the two trains to come down. Here's the big boy coming down first. The light was bad through here. But it was a, I'm here, it's here type of thing. And then behind the big boy was the 2102. The next morning, a group of us got to back here to Lehigh Gorge at 5:30 in the morning and started walking. You had to be there early to get parking and also to stake your claim up at the gorge because a lot of folks were hiking in. So we hiked in about 1.5 miles to where the light gets really good and waited for the trains. We got into position at about 6:15, 6:20, then had about a 3-hour wait. But after our 3-hour wait, first came 2102 with its train. That was followed by Reading Northern's bike train. You can put your bike on this train right up to the other end of the gorge and then pedal back down to Jim Thorpe, which is all down a gentle grade. About an hour behind the 2102 was the big boy. The folks on the left there, you see some kids chasing by foot, other folks chasing on bicycle. It wasn't going very fast here at the time. Then the last train was supposed to be Reading Northern's F7 diesels on the regular gorge train. But there had been a derailment the night before down in the Jim Thorpe yard, had gummed things up. So the gorge train came up with just a freight unit on it. Then they had to hike out. So hike back out again. But while I was hiking out, the gorge train came back. Here it is pushing back to its starting point back in Jim Thorpe. From there, it was over to Scranton, where Big Boy was heading as well. And our first stop in Scranton was at Naog Tunnel, where Delaware Lackawanna had positioned its semi-quincentennial unit. They were hoping to get a side-by-side here with the Big Boy, which would have involved the Big Boy coming into Scranton, into Steamtown, and backing up to here. But unfortunately, for DL, time became an issue. The crew was going to outlaw, so they had to scrub the tunnel side-by-side shot. The Iron Horse Society, the volunteer arm of Steamtown, they had arranged to have the Mall Bridge, the bridge that connects Steamtown with the old Steamtown Mall shopping center. They arranged to have that open for photographers for $100 a pop. And I got tickets for that. So we got this shot here of the Big Boy and Steamtown's own 060 Baldwin 26. They did some side-by-side stuff with that. The following day, my brother wanted to go up and see the Big Boy in Scranton. This was the first of the two big public days. We waited in line. The line to get into Steamtown was over 1 mile. So we got there. It took about 2 hours to get to the Steamtown grounds. Once I was there, I had arranged with the DL to get up in Bridge 60 Tower and shoot down from the tower on the crowds here. Here you see UP's 4014. Just beyond it is Steamtown's Big Boy 4012. And then behind those two is Reading 2102, Reading 2124 that lives at Steamtown. Now you see the crowds here. The crowds are at this point are actually coming from right to left. The folks crossing in front of the steam engine are heading out of the park at this point. So here we go from the tower. Here you see the line. Waiting off in the distance there, you see the Big Boy, the big boys with that crowd you just saw. The line goes around, and behind that tree in the middle, you see the line going through the parking lot. Then you see the line coming here in front of Bridge 60 Tower and across the tracks. And then you see the line across the tracks and then down the side of the state parking lot, then along the other edge of the state parking lot in front of the parking garage, out to the street. And once you got to the street, there was still another mile to go of line. But it was quite the line, let me tell you.
I'm glad I went day 2 because day 2 we were just like literally show up, pull in the parking lot, got in, and we were in like maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
less.
first day was crazy, just absolutely bonkers. Also, there was Phoebe Snow about to go upon a trip to Buffalo. The big attraction was, of course, the side-by-side big boys, UP 4014 and Steamtown's 4012.
I was there Monday.
What's that?
I went Monday.
It's past Monday?
Yeah, I went June 5th.
Okay. Here's Jeremy Comas. He's the new superintendent of Steamtown. Really a good guy. Really great to work with. Former Navy SEAL. Sadly, he is so good that he's probably not going to be at Steamtown very long. He's probably going to be climbing the National Park Service ladder pretty fast. So once he leaves, it's a crapshoot as to who will come in and if they'll be any good. Also, Ed Dickens, the engineer of the 4014, head of the steam team. Ed's a great guy. Gosh, you couldn't have a better ambassador for the railroad. He always has time to talk to anybody. And he's very patient. Just an incredible person to have in charge of the steam program.
I got to get pictures of him between the 2 locomotives.
Yeah.
He was able to do that, and then got a shirt signed by him.
Side-by-side big boys. Who would have thought? First time big boys have been side-by-side since the 1960s. And with that, I am going to wrap things up. The next program is going to be July 22nd. That's a week early because July 29th, I'll be down in Chattanooga chasing the 4501 if everything goes right. So next program, July 22nd, more big boy stuff, hopefully, from the next several days of photographing it. And we'll see what else I can come up with. So I want to close this off for the folks on YouTube.